Hey guys, RanterInShades here, exercise my first Memorites vlog style, here with episode 9 of Shades Shirt Collection. That series that I make videos for that nobody asks me to, but I do anyway. And that's sort of a twist on the catchphrase that Blue Magus has for his Minor Grievance series, where he says, that show that I do, but only when I feel like it. It's kind of like that. Anyway, it's been a while since I've made a video for this series. I think it's been like over a year, I think? Something around that. The last concert I remember going to at that time was Warped last year, which I didn't go to Warped this year, mainly because the majority of the bands that were playing at the final Warped were bands that I had already seen on Warped, so I'm like, there's no real shame, and I don't think I'm really missing much. I mean, it's unfortunate that Warp's ending, and that is something I could do a video about maybe in the future, maybe. But for now, I figure before I get to work on, you know, my next serious scripted effort-taking video, I just knock another episode of this out of the way because it's been a while. And like the last time I made videos for this, I'm gonna be a bit experimental with my editing, so even if I don't really get a lot of views on here, at least the people that are watching this are seeing good-ass editing that I'm putting into this. So with that said, let's get started. So I'm going to shift myself over to this side and have this space over here be for whatever I have on the screen. So the first shirt I got here, I got at a show that I went to at around the beginning or so of August of last year. This band would be the Reign of Kindo, or as they're now calling themselves, they shortened their name to just Kindo, which I think was kind of dumb. I refuse to call them Kindo because, you know, as wordy as it is, the Reign of Kindo is at least more recognizable than just Kindo. Reign of Kindo was on tour with Jason Richardson, who I had previously seen earlier in 2017 when he was opening for Polyphia at the show that I met them at, which, on the topic of that, if you aren't subscribed to Mortified Productions, please go over to his channel and subscribe to him if you haven't. His most recent video there is his favorite albums of 2016. I know it seems, you know, silly that he's making a video about 2016 albums in 2018, but it's a really good video, and I make a cameo in there when he talks about Polyphia's most recent album, and I allude to the day that I met Polyphia. Go watch that video, and please, for the love of God, you know, if there's anybody I cannot recommend enough for you guys to subscribe to, you'll recognize him from the Hey Arnold video, but I can't recommend Mortified Productions enough because he's honestly like one of my favorite YouTubers ever. I was mainly going to this for Reign of Kindo because whenever they play shows, I never hear about them coming through Mass at all, so I jumped on this because you never know when the next time's gonna be that they ever play a show in Massachusetts. And what was weird about this was that after the Reign of Kindo's set, a bunch of the people in the crowd left. They didn't stick around for Jason Richardson's set, which I thought was kind of weird because this is Jason Richardson's tour. It's his headlining tour, and a bunch of people are like leaving, and so I stuck around. I could have left because I had seen Richardson already earlier in the year, but I stuck around because I felt kind of bad that so many people were leaving. And I also got another Reign of Kindo shirt that I didn't think was as cool looking. I got that autographed by Jason Richardson and Luke Holland, his drummer. I wanted to get a selfie with them because I figured with so little people there I'd be able to, but I was told no selfies, so I got this other shirt that I had of Reign of Kindo's autographed by them. This was the Reign of Kindo design that I liked the best. We see human and skeleton shaking hands with each other and a weird paint circle thing with their logo in the middle. I don't like how small the logo is, but it's their logo. And written a bunch of times in the middle there is a line from their song Dust from their third album from 2013, which is called Play With Fire. Like Bart Simpson writing on the chalkboard in the opening Simpsons theme. It says, "The greatest men in history are now just names of what they used to be." It's kind of cryptic, kind of cool, and yeah, overall this is an okay shirt. And what's also noteworthy about this is that this is my first and probably only a V-neck. I'm not really a V-neck guy, but this is a V-neck. They only had V-necks. I also refer to this as like my sexy shirt, you know? But yeah, this is a cool shirt, and Reign of Kindo is definitely a band I cannot recommend enough, especially to the people that think that there's no good rock bands out right now, and think that, oh, all the rock bands nowadays either sound like Imagine Dragons or Nickelback. There aren't any good rock bands out right now. And while Reign of Kindo might not be, you know, super mainstream and played on hit radio, they're a quality band, especially if you like prog rock, and especially if you like prog rock with a very jazzy influence. Please, 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 please check out Reign of Kindo. I've mentioned them a few times in previous videos, but that's because they're a band I really want people to check out. And I also got a selfie with their bassist at this show, Jeff Jarvis. I don't like how I look in the selfie, but cool. Next shirt is of a band that might be a bit of a curveball to you guys, because I don't really talk very much about this genre of music, let alone about, you know, bands along these lines. This would be Matchbox 20. You know, I know it seems weird that I'd have a Matchbox 20 shirt, that I'd see Matchbox 20 live, because most of the concerts I go to are either metal shows or punk shows or hard rock shows. And even on this channel, I don't really talk very much about, you know, alternative rock, because it's not a genre that I'm hugely into, but it is a genre that I like. And as far as the 90s alternative goes, Matchbox 20 is definitely one of my favorites from that time period. They have quite a number of good songs in their catalog, such as Unwell, which was a personal anthem of mine ever since I was a kid, and even then I still relate very much to that song because, you know, I feel like a lot of the time I'm misunderstood, such as by a certain someone I might or might not have made a video about recently. And even outside of that, they got a lot of good songs in their catalog, such as 3 AM, Push, If You're Gone, Bent, a lot of good stuff in their catalog. And at this show, their lead guitarist, Kyle Cook, he surprised me. He played some pretty cool solos. And of course, Rob Thomas has a very distinctive voice, and I really like him as a singer, and I dig his solo stuff too. On the shirt here, we see the four guys in there. The shirt's got a very retro feel. It almost looks like a 90s kind of shirt. The only thing I don't like about this shirt is that the name is abbreviated as MB20. I remember this one time I went out to get pizza, and the guy behind the counter asked what MB20 was, and I told him it was Matchbox 20, and we started talking about how cool of a song 3 AM is, and that was nice. It's just kind of weird. And unfortunately, this is one of the only shirts I'm going to be showing that actually has stuff on the back that actually has tour dates. I don't know why. It feels like no one is making tour shirts anymore. I don't know why that is. I prefer tour shirts over just regular merch and whatnot, because, you know, a tour shirt says a little more. It says, I saw this band live and had a good time, but it says Summer Tour 2017, and I actually saw this show in Hartford, Connecticut on September 2nd, as it says here. The story with that was my brother got a ticket to see Matchbox 20 with some college friends of his, and, you know, he doesn't go to college in Connecticut. He got the ticket for the wrong date, and I offered to take the ticket off his hand because, you know, hey, Matchbox 20 is a good band. And Connecticut is a reasonable drive for me because I drive through Connecticut whenever I go to New York. So I figured this was doable, and I felt like doing something nice for my brother. He didn't exactly have the greatest of seats. He got lawn tickets because, you know, they're cheap and whatnot. So the view wasn't exactly the greatest for me, but Matchbox 20 put on a good show, and Counting Crows also opened. I didn't really see a lot of Counting Crows set because of, you know, how timing worked out, which that's okay because Counting Crows isn't a band that I'm gonna act like I'm a super huge fan of. I like a few songs from Counting Crows. They're okay. I did get to see them play the songs I knew, such as Mr. Jones and their cover of Big Yellow Taxi, which is another song I loved as a kid. Surprisingly, they didn't play Accidentally in Love from Shrek 2, unless they did it earlier in their set and I missed it. But yeah, they did an okay job, and, you know, I had a pretty good time at this show. I was surprised to see a lot of, like, older people, like middle-aged adults at this show, as well as, like, college-age kids. I didn't realize how diverse their audience was, but that was interesting. Next shirt is of an artist that I saw about a week or two later in September of last year. This would be Plini. Now, I didn't get this shirt at the show, and I'll get to why in a little bit. I ordered this from Plini's merch site a little while after the show. The reason why I didn't get a shirt there was because he was playing in Somerville, Massachusetts, and the parking there is non-existent. It took me forever to find a parking garage, and I was already like half an hour or so late. I Ubered over to the venue, and Nick Johnston was opening. Nick Johnston, who is one of my favorite guitarists as of late, and I made it for like the last 2 songs of his set, and I was so goddamn mad that I didn't get to see the bulk of his set. And I did sort of make up for it by getting a selfie with Nick Johnston, which was cool, but another thing that was a consequence of me being late to get in was there were no more of Plini's shirts in my size, so I had to order this online. And honestly, I don't remember what the design of those shirts were, but I really like this design. I don't know what it is with his designs. This is like the concept art for his most recent album, Handmade Cities, as it says here. He does have a new album coming out in, I think, next week. I don't know what it is, like I was saying, why there's a giraffe and a snail with each other, with these weird shapes and, you know, colors and whatnot, but it's an endearing design, and I like the blue and pink colors here, so I like this shirt a good bit. And Plini, of course, is another one of my favorite prog, gent, instrumental guitarists as of late. He's really one of the best in that scene. And also on this tour was David Maximikic, a guy that I had heard of thanks to Stoutmeister, but I'd never, like, explored his music yet, and I looked into him after I got back from the show, and he's good. The next concert I went to wasn't for, like, months, because, you know, if you remember, I took, like, a 3-month hiatus last year where I didn't make any videos. I was dealing with a lot of personal shit, and I wasn't really in the mood to go to any concerts, let alone make videos and whatnot. I'm in a much better place right now, as you can tell by the consistency of uploads in this month. I still got a ways to go, but, you know, I'm in a much better place right now. But the concert that I broke that little hiatus with was Scale the Summit. This show was in the beginning of December. They were double billing with another guy that I had seen live in the past already, Angel Vivaldi, who's another one of my favorite guitarists, and, you know, he put on a good show. Scale the Summit put on a great show. Chris Letchford is a really good guitarist, and Scale the Summit are one of the first, like, instrumental prog bands that I got into, like, back in 2010. Like, I didn't really know any other, like, instrumental prog bands other than, like, Liquid Tension Experiment and An Endless Sporadic. And I talked about Scale the Summit and An Endless Sporadic in an old video of mine that used to be called My Top 20 Favorite Modern Metal Bands, which I've since renamed to just 20 Modern Metal Bands I Enjoy, because looking back on that, the list is quite outdated. There were a number of bands I had yet to get into at that time. It's a video that I might make a follow-up to, maybe in the future. But regardless, I really like how Scale the Summit have been growing a following and getting a reputation in, like, the prog community and all that. They're a band that people seem to really respect, and they're good musicians, like I said. This design over here is the one that I like the best. It's got a deer and a moon and a triangle with, you know, some purple, orange, yellow triangle within the thing. It's a weird design, and it's also kind of fun, like the Plini shirt was, so this is a pretty alright shirt. Also on this tour with Angel Vivaldi and Scale the Summit was another instrumental guitarist, Andy James. He's a British guy. I felt really bad watching his set because he was playing by himself with a backing track. All the while I was just thinking to myself, what good is playing live if you don't have anybody to play with? I mean, that sort of detracts from the overall experience of playing music live professionally. I mean, I get that, you know, maybe he couldn't afford to pay for a backing band to come on tour, or maybe the people he wanted to come on tour with him weren't available. Still though, you know, it's gotta be lonely playing on stage just by yourself. And there was also a small handle of local bands. I only remember 2 out of the 3 or 4 that there were. One was one of the bands that I had actually seen at the Angel Vivaldi and Gus G show that I went to in 2016. This progressive metalcore band called The Floor's Embrace that actually recently just put out their debut EP called Monarch. And the other band I remember from the show was another prog metal band that is, you know, working on their first EP that I'm keeping my eye out for. This band called Episodes. They were pretty goddamn awesome. The last thing I have to say about this show was I got a selfie with Angel Vivaldi after this show. Right as my phone was about to die, I snapped a selfie with Angel, and that made my night. Next is the last concert that I went to in 2017, which was I think a week later. This is another band that's been on my concert bucket list for ages. This would be a Wilhelm Scream. A band that's actually from here in Massachusetts, and as well as one of my favorite melodic hardcore bands of all time. They're one of those hardcore bands that's, you know, like Strung Out. They border on metal. They have really technical guitar parts and are very blast beat heavy. And for that reason, they're another band that I cannot recommend enough. This was the only shirt with the design that I thought was at all decent that they had in my size. This isn't a shirt that I have in my shirt rotation anymore because I kind of find the design kind of boring. It's just their logo, and, you know, it's a pretty cool looking logo, but it's just white. There isn't really much else to it. It's kind of a boring shirt. That's why I took it out of my rotation. They deserve better. That's basically why. They put on a really cool set. They weren't even headlining at this tour. That was the strange part. They were opening for a band I had never heard of called Street Dogs. And because I was, you know, getting over a cold at this time where I lost my voice, and because I was kind of tired, and also just because I wanted to get back to finishing the scripts for Best and Worst Songs of 2017, I decided, you know what, after Wilhelm Scream's set, I'm gonna take off. It is not something that I normally do. I never leave concerts early, but this one I made an exception for. These next few shirts are not concert shirts. They're shirts that I picked up at the mall the last time I went over there. I don't really go to the mall all that much unless there's an errand I'm wanting to run, and usually when I'm over there I'll hit up Hot Topic and Spencer's and see if there's any shirts that I want to get there, and this is one of them. I saw this and I'm like, yes. Who is this shirt of? None other than Prince, an artist who I thought long and hard about. You know, if you remember from the last Q&A that I did, someone asked Prince or Michael Jackson, and I answered Prince because, you know, as talented as Michael Jackson was, Prince, I think, had a little more to bring to the table, largely because he was a multi-instrumentalist and played guitar. And here we have a shirt with the cover of his famous groundbreaking album, Purple Rain, which is also, out of all of his, you know, album covers, this is the one that I like the best, and it's also, just in general, my favorite of Prince's albums. You got songs like Let's Go Crazy with that cool gospel opening, great way to start this album. You got Darling Nikki, the song that got Tipper Gore's panties in a twist that led her to creating the PMRC, for better or worse. You got When Doves Cry, I Would Die For You, and of course, the always wonderful title track. I like the colors on this, I like the design of this. I could not say no. I don't buy very many shirts in stores. Usually I either buy them at shows or I order them online. This is one I just could not say no to, and it should show. The next shirt I got when I was over at the mall is this one of Stone Sour, a band that I'm actually going to be seeing live later this year. I'm going to be seeing Ozzy Osbourne, and Stone Sour is opening. This will be my first time seeing Corey Taylor live because I have yet to see Slipknot. I think I said this in the What's Wrong With on Slipknot. This is kind of an unpopular opinion of mine. I kind of prefer Stone Sour stylistically over Slipknot, but that's not a dig on Slipknot. I do like Slipknot's stuff too. Stone Sour, I just have an easier time listening to, if you know what I mean. And what we got on this shirt is artwork from their most recent album, Hydrograd, from last year, which I like the colors here. I think this overall, this is a pretty cool design. It's definitely a shirt I don't mind having in my collection, even though it's not really a shirt I wear all that regularly. And the last shirt I got when I was at the mall, this isn't a band shirt, but at the same time it kinda is. You ready for this? Powerline! Motherfucking Powerline! Yeah! I saw this and I'm like, yes! I need this, man. Fucking Powerline. The greatest fucking pop star in the fucking Disney universe. You got him making this cool face. You got lightning and cool colors. And it says down there, Stand Out World Tour 95. Stand Out is, of course, one of the songs he sings in the Goofy movie, along with Eye to Eye at the end. Goofy movie is a movie that I hold a bit of a special relationship with. When my brother was being born and I had to stay at my aunt and uncle's, they turned this movie on for me, and this was the movie that kept me sane throughout that. And I watched it again not too long ago, and I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed it. I couldn't really follow it when I was a kid because, I mean, I was 3 at the time. As corny as it might be, I do find it to be enjoyable. But yeah, I like this design. This is a shirt that I wear whenever I'm too lazy to get dressed. This is like a pajama shirt, basically. And we got tour dates on the back. We get to see all the places that he played out on his world tour. He played Auckland, New Zealand, Sydney, Australia, Tokyo, Japan, Seoul, South Korea, Beijing, China, Kanpur, India, Tel Aviv, Israel, Cairo, Egypt, Moscow, Russia, Dusseldorf, Germany, Johannesburg, South Africa, Naples, Italy, Paris, France, London, England, Dublin, Ireland, Toronto, Canada, New York, USA, Chicago, LA, which is the place where Max and Goofy crashed the stage on his televised performance over there, and he just went with it. He didn't, you know, call the guards on them because he's just that nice of a guy. And that wasn't even his final tour date. He also played Mexico City to close it out in fucking 95, man. So yeah, this shirt is fucking awesome, and I'm glad I have it. It's right up there with my Nicktoons shirt. Now we get back to concerts, and I didn't go to this one until mid-April. This is another artist that has been on my bucket list for ages, and, you know, on the topic of buckets, here's Buckethead. Like with the Plini shirt, I didn't get this at the show because he didn't have a merch stand there, which was kind of a bummer. I ordered this on eBay, and I actually think this is a cool picture. I like how the orange blends with the black here, and this is a cool looking picture of Buckethead. And unfortunately, like with Andy James at the Scale the Summit and Angel Vivaldi show, he was playing with a backing track there, and I was like, what the fuck? I mean, is it really this difficult to put together a backing band or ask some guys to come on tour with you? Is it really that hard in 2018? But regardless, Buckethead put on a really entertaining show. He's a really unique guitarist, and also an interesting guitarist. He has a weird playing style, especially with the button that he pushes that, you know, mutes the guitar, which that's something that I'd really like to own for a guitar one day. And he's also got this weird tapping style, and of course, he's got weird visuals with, you know, wearing a KFC bucket on his head as well as a Michael Jordan jersey. He also had this bag of toys that he carried with him, and if you're in the front row, he actually gave the audience toys. Unfortunately, because I was not in the front, I was in a seating area. I did not get any toys, but my friend Felix Wolf caught this tour, and he actually got something from Buckethead. I'll see if I can get him to send me a picture of what he got if he's cool with me showing it. Next concert I went to was also in April of this year, and it was a couple weeks later. This is another band that's been on my concert bucket list for ages, and it's none other than Protest the Hero, one of my favorite bands in prog metal. And they were touring for the 10-year anniversary of their album Fortress, not to be confused with Alter Bridge's album of the same name, and that's actually my favorite of Protest's albums, and they played it in its entirety, which was really fun. I was really worn out by the end of this show. They had Good Tiger opening, which is a band that I've been getting a bit interested in over the last couple years. They made a pretty big splash when they came out with their first album, and I got a selfie after the show with one of their guitarists, Daria Nagel, and his mustached glory. And also opening on this tour was a progressive metalcore band called Distrage from Italy. And this was their first time in the US, and they won me over with their sound. I looked into them when I got home, and yeah, they're definitely a band I think you guys should check out. But anyway, Protest put on a pretty wicked set. Fucking Luke Hoskin destroyed on fucking guitar, and Rhodey Walker is of course a great vocalist. The only thing that brought the show down a bit on the topic of Rhodey Walker is he went on a bit of a lengthy talk about hockey that I thought was really unnecessary. I mean, anybody who thinks that, you know, I only have this problem whenever people talk about politics, it isn't just politics. That's not the only reason that I went after Buddy Nielsen. It's because he took up a significant period of time to fucking go on his tirade, and Rhodey Walker was not as egregious about it, but it was still pretty lengthy, and I'm like, okay, we get it. You're Canadian. You like hockey. Now, the shirt here, this was the design I liked the best. I really wonder why they didn't have a tour shirt, again, like I said, with the cover of Fortress and tour dates on the back. I don't know why bands don't do this anymore. Someone tell me. But this was the design I liked the best. I like the color scheme here, the purple, yellow, and orange, the sort of vaporwavy looking thing. I don't know what exactly Protest the Air have to do with Vaporwave, but, you know, Vaporwave designs I think are pretty neat looking, so can't go wrong with this. Not a bad shirt. And last, but certainly not least, I saved the best for last, not intentionally. It's none other than Rest Repose. And if you don't know Rest Repose, this is the band that Jared Dines plays in, along with another music YouTuber, Ryan Fluff Bruce, who is somebody that I subscribed to back when I was in college because I figured he'd be a good person to have show up in my sub feed, you know, being that I was majoring in music technology. I figured he'd be able to, you know, give some pointers and whatnot, but I sort of lost a little bit of interest in his content. You know, I got nothing but respect for him and the way he runs his channel, but he's not really somebody I follow as closely as I follow Jared. Jared, on the other hand, is one of my favorite YouTubers of all time. I'm wanting to remake my favorite non-ranting YouTube channels video, and Jared Dines is a name you should expect to see very high on that list. But anyway, Rest Repose is, it's mainly Fluff's thing. He's the main writer. You know, if you listen to the style, it's more his style than Jared's, but I do enjoy the alt metal that they've been, you know, making. And this is their first full US tour, their first time coming over to the East Coast, so I knew I had to jump on this because you never know how long it's going to be until the next time they come over to this side of the country. But unfortunately, since they didn't have a Massachusetts date, what I do whenever a band isn't playing in my state is I make a trip to the nearest state that they're playing in. Most of the time it's New York, but if it's not New York, it's either going to be like New Hampshire or Rhode Island or Connecticut, you know, within that general area. And so I made a trip to New York for this. They weren't playing in Times Square, they were playing in Brooklyn, so this was a bit of a hustle for me. I had to make a bit of a trip out. It was kind of stressful because I didn't know what time I was expected to be there, but their tour manager sent an email to the people that got VIP. I forgot to mention I got a VIP ticket for this show, telling everybody to get to the venue at 4:50 for the thing to start at 5, but I didn't get to the train station to the city until 4 o'clock, and I had to really blitz on this. I Ubered from Grand Central over to this bar in Brooklyn, and I was half an hour late. I was really annoyed, I was really stressed. Thankfully I was let in, and I was able to ask some questions, and I'm gonna show you these questions because I just really want people to see these, because for anybody who's wanting to start a band and really get something going, this is something that you really need to hear. Like, I'm going to hold on to this forever, and you know, it means so much to me that I'm going to show you guys.
Is this your question with the picture?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm videotaping my question.
Oh, okay.
I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
My question, I'm sorry if this has been asked already. I was kind of late.
Right.
It was heavy traffic. I'm actually from Massachusetts. I made a trip over here. How did you guys go about making sure that everybody in the band was, you know, committed to really getting the band going and, you know, just going all in and all that?
That's an interesting question.
It's very interesting. Like, you want to be as honest as possible on this one?
Sure.
Alright, so, well...
You guys need to get some inside baseball right now.
We're still doing it. So when we first started, we were very casual. Me and Fluff started the band. Well, technically it was Fluff's birth child, and then I had said I'd play drums for it as a casual thing, right?
Yeah.
And then we had Josh come in, Tony came in, and we played a few shows. Still very casual. So we're like, hey, let's do a tour. You know, we had Vince as the singer. Did the first tour, realized a lot about certain members, you know. So then we changed out Vince for Tanner, And then we did another tour, and then Josh realized that, hey, I can't do the long stuff, which we all want to do. So we got rid of Josh, Tony went to bass, we got Chris. It made sense for me to go to guitar because I'm not really a drummer, I was just filling in, you know.
Oh, come on, you're not that bad at drums.
Well, he's way better than I am. I don't call myself, I can play drums, I don't call myself a drummer, so to speak. So then on this tour, it's our first ever full US. It's, you know, 40 days, it's a big one. And we got 5-6 days in and realized that Tanner's not the guy. So we're still trying to figure that out, but we're stepping up as we go. We're a brand new band, we're a baby band. I mean, I might have a following, Fluff might have a following, but that's our personal life, that's not the band. As a band, we're brand new, we're still trying to figure it out. And we know that Tony's in it to win it, I'm in it to win it. We're all here now as four, and we're going, you know, we could have canceled this entire tour because we sent Tanner home, but we didn't. Luckily, Tony can sing, and with the help of the other bands, we're gonna allow us to continue this tour because this is fucking awesome. Like, this is our dream, this is what we want to do. So it's the whole, you know, the show must go on kind of thing, and we're here, and it's a train that isn't gonna stop, you know. Like, the four of us, like, we're four now, and we know it because we've gone through a year and a half of the little stepping stones to get to where we're at, and we're still building, but we're growing the foundation as we go up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'd say the trick to any band is to, like, you gotta find the guys that want to do it, and the guys that don't want, you gotta get them out as fast as you can. And even if there's any hesitation from people, like, oh yeah, my girlfriend says I can't do this, that they need to be gone, because it's not for the faint of heart.
It's not easy.
Touring is really, really, really hard.
That actually answered another question I had,
cool.
so thank you.
Oh, you're gonna break up with your girlfriend?
No. No.
Nah, don't break up with her. She's probably really nice. But yeah, it's fucking hard. But it's like a marriage or like raising children. If one of the partners is not into it, it's never gonna work. So, but it's harder because you have to find 5 people. So it's like a Mormon marriage. Way harder.
You have to be passionate.
Yeah,
you find out who's passionate and who's not.
You don't want it. Don't want it for anyone else.
Right on.
Like, if you have a person that you like as a singer and they don't want it, that's not your guy. I'd rather have someone who's less talented that really, really fucking wants it and can work on their problems than someone who's the best singer in the world, but you have to fight them to tour or get better or take lessons or whatever.
All right, my second question.
All right.
What is your opinion on bands who get really political on their social media?
To each his own.
I fucking hate it.
I wouldn't do it. I think to each his own. If you want to spread a political message, good for you. Do what you feel is in your heart. It's just not in my heart. I'm not a political guy. You know, I want to talk about other stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to be census fail.
Dude, that's exactly what I was gonna fucking say.
I know, right?
I can't stand that shit.
I know,
they used
man.
to be a badass punk band, now they want to
actually,
fuck up.
on my YouTube channel, I actually made a video about that, and
I'm gonna follow your YouTube channel. That's exactly what came to mind when you said that.
youtube.com/RanterInShades. That's me.
Alright.
Did he say census bill or story?
Yeah. You can see why this would mean the world to me. It really did. Getting these kinds of pointers from one of my favorite YouTubers, it's like, wow, this really was like one of the best days of my life. And of course, since this is a VIP show, I got my picture taken with the band. I was really surprised to hear that they kicked Tanner out because I really loved his vocals on the last album, but you know, he didn't want to commit to the grind, and unfortunately, you know, when you're getting a band going, you need people who are going to grind, and if someone's not going to grind, as talented as they might be, you sort of have to let them go. This was something that kind of brought the experience down slightly. They had a backing track of the bass playing, and Tony was doing the lead vocals, and he's not a horrible singer, but he's not great either. I really am hoping that they find a good replacement. I also got to meet Austin Dickey, Jared's co-host on the Dickey Dines show, who is also the singer of a metalcore band called For the Likes of You, who unfortunately weren't playing the date that I was going to. Opening on this show was Drusif Stalin, who has the most stupidly awesome stage name, and I got a selfie with Drusif Stalin after his set. There was also this pop-punk band called The Home Team that was playing on this half of the tour. The other bands that were opening were all, you know, local bands from New York, one of which was my boys, Valence, a band that's become such great friends. They've been so good to me over the last year that I really got to know them, and when I heard that they were opening here, I got really excited because, hey, I get to see one of my favorite YouTubers' bands, and I get to see one of my favorite Westchester bands and hang with them. It really added to the overall experience. I only remember the name of one of the other openers, and this would be another instrumental prog band called the Astral Cadence, and their guitarist is basically Tosin Abasi Jr., and I'm not just saying that because he's black. They're another band that I'm keeping an eye on for when they have stuff coming out. They have some songs on their Bandcamp, but I'm looking forward to when they actually have an official full-length or an EP. I'm looking forward to whenever that comes because, wow, this guitarist is good. But yeah, this was one of the best days of my life. And I didn't say a thing about the fucking shirt yet. I had this on screen this whole time, and I didn't say a thing about it. This was the design that I liked the best. I like the colors, purple and white. It looks like a tent in the middle there. This is a shirt that I really like. So that is all for this video. Thank you for watching this video. Take care and have a nice day. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.